There is one Google Ads mistake which single-handedly is responsible for over 90% of e-commerce brands literally getting destroyed when it comes to Google Ads. And in this video, not only do I want to show you this exact mistake, which there's a high chance your brand is making, but also the effective solution and how to create a strategy around this mistake. Now, the mistake I'm referring to is including your brand name within the first 50% of your product titles or your product descriptions. Let me explain. What most brand owners do is essentially they will go into their product titles that come up on Google Ads and they will add their brand name, whatever it may be. So for instance, in this example, we're looking at the brands that made the mistake that sell 3D printers. So essentially here, the first 50%, they have Bamboo Lab within the product titles, or even maybe right here, they have the keyword, although it's cut in half, just Prusa, while their brand name is Prusa Research. But essentially this brand right here, Bamboo Lab, is making this mistake more and more. Now, it may be a situation where the brand name itself is important to showcase the product. Maybe that's how the product is called. Maybe that's just the product title and a cold traffic keyword. However, when that's not the situation and when you still continue to have your brand name at the very start or within the first 50%, doesn't matter if it's titles or descriptions, what essentially happens is the Google Ads algorithm starts to focus on more branded traffic. Because if you just think about it in general, how does Google's algorithm work? It goes onto your landing page, it works from top to bottom, left to right, and it crawls through everything. And while it's crawling through everything, it's trying to understand who your ideal audience is. How does it do that? It does it by understanding your keywords. And if one of the first major keywords that it's reading when it's going from left to right is your brand name, what happens is it stores it in its own database as high priority keyword, because that's how the algorithm essentially operates. That's how it understands who your perfect customer is. So instead of now your brand going after more cold traffic, you naturally force the algorithm and the brand to start going towards more branded traffic, to start ranking more for retargeting keywords. So even if you have a bunch of shopping campaigns running, even if you have a bunch of search campaigns running that are supposedly going after cold traffic, there is still a heavy influence of branded traffic in the mix. But the worst part of all is when you are doing this on a granular level within a campaign to campaign basis, on the account level as a whole, the algorithm is learning from these keywords. It's understanding who the perfect customer for your brand is. So over time, it will naturally just go more and more towards branded traffic and just those people who are more inclined to search with your brand name within their general searches. So this is a very big issue because now you are training the algorithm the wrong way and you're spending money, you're spending ad spend for something which may not even be part of your essential strategy with Google Ads, where your main goal with Google might be just to attract more cold traffic customers. This is literally one of the biggest issues I see with a lot of the brands that come to us under my agency, Yoru Marketing, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, and if you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at yorumarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But this is the same thing that these brands do with descriptions. So for instance, in this example, if we go on over to the description, you might have a description on your landing page where majority of the keywords appearing at the very top of your description are just your branded keywords, because that's how you describe the product. Again, it's good to have a branded feel for your brand. That's how you establish authority within a niche. That's how you separate yourself from the other people selling similar products. However, when it comes solely to Google Ads and the algorithm and the way it works, reading from top to bottom, left to right, and it just again verifies that your brand name is there once again within the description, is going to force the algorithm to optimize more towards those people that search up in that sense, in that approach. And it's essentially going to redirect the entire strategy to go after more and more branded traffic, which again is going to take your brand further and further away from cold traffic. And initially, this might have a very high ROI within your brand. You might see very good values, very good returns, and you might want to scale those returns. But again, scale is quickly either flatlined because it eventually plateaus because there's only so many people searching for your product with your brand name, or the ROAS takes a big nosedive downwards eventually because you have exhausted all the audience members who would search for your products with that branding name. So what is the right strategy? What is the right solution for this? You want to follow the 80-20 rule in this situation, where if you have 10 keywords within your product title, for example, let's say this 3D printer, you did research and you found out a total of 10 keywords within your product titles that you can add. The first 8, so I'll write this right here, first 8 should equal cold traffic keywords, not branded keywords. And then the last 2 keywords, so last 2 keywords equals branded traffic keywords, so your brand name essentially. And this allows Google's algorithm to now first get all of the cold traffic keywords out of the way, go into the market, find buying audiences based around those, and then it's going to prioritize your brand name last, but it's not going to get rid of it completely because your brand name is still there. So number one, you're still adding authority to your overall shopping listing or search listing, whatever it may be. But number two, the algorithm is still reading this, although it's last, it's still taking that into account to then go after potentially smaller amounts of branded traffic related keywords and still get your sales in that manner. So it's saving your brand from getting overbid on. It's saving your space within the markets so that your competition doesn't just come and crush you, but at the same time, it's allowing your ad spend to be more efficient and not just to be wasted on branded traffic that may have just come through the door anyways. This is what you want to get right. And a lot of agencies, a lot of freelancers will celebrate the fact that they have a lot of these branded traffic keywords in their titles and descriptions, and you're getting a lot of branded ROI, which is great, but it should not account for more than 10 to 20% of your revenue or 10 to 20% of your ROI, because if it is, then your brand is relying too much on branded traffic. Same thing with descriptions. The first 80% of your description should be about the product, cold traffic keywords sprinkled in there, which your brand wants to go after, wants to win auctions for. And then at the end, 20% of those keywords should be branded traffic keywords. Now, with keywords for descriptions, you can sprinkle in your brand traffic keywords at the top, middle, bottom. So for example, again, going back to that 10 keyword example, if there's a total of 10 keywords within your descriptions, the top 8 or just 8 in general should be cold traffic, and 2 of those should be branded traffic. Again, this keeps that 80-20 rule in effect and make sure the algorithm knows what to focus on, because the keywords is like interest targeting that you would do on Facebook or TikTok ads. But basic mistakes so many brands make. I see the brands I audit now and they just get destroyed by this mistake, thinking they're doing extremely well. But the moment we fix up the strategy, their ROAS plummets for a temporary period of time, but it's needed to get it back on track to start efficiently going after cold traffic down the line and not to ruin the overall account health. But if you run a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at yorumarketing.com, schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen.